Hey everyone, this is Caroline back from Woo Money Mastery. And this week I've been getting a lot of questions about, what it was that got me so excited about budgeting in the first place. So I figured I'd record this short little video just to, give you all the little details, tell you my story, explain to you why budgeting I think is so absolutely life changing and what it can make possible for you. So budgeting, it really lights my fire. And the reason why I'm like so hyper focused on budgeting out of all the little avenues of personal finance is budgeting is really the foundation that allows you to play with and have fun and do all those other things, right? Whether you want to reduce your debt, whether you want to save, whether you want to go on vacation, whether you want to invest in fancy things, you can be so much more successful in all of that if you're able to budget. And funny thing is I have an interesting history with money. So growing up, we never spoke about money at home. It was very feast or famine. We either had money or we didn't, and there was no explanation for what was happening. So when I became an adult and entered the real world, I had to learn all this through trial and error. And let me tell you, there was so much error, especially when I first got started. Um, I, entered the workforce, was working really a, you know, minimum wage, paycheck to paycheck job. And, every time I got a raise or something, my lifestyle caught up with me. Most importantly, because I was living in the Bay Area, one of the highest cost of living places in the United States. And then I started to settle down and grow my family, right? So, every time I got a raise or a promotion, my expenses went up high too. And eventually I got to the point where the relationship that I was in was not a good place for myself and my kids to be. And I, was able to get a new job where between myself and daycare, the kids were covered. But I was just so frustrated because I felt like I couldn't get ahead in the Bay Area. And one day I had this realization. I'm like, there are other people out there who maybe they're making more than me, but they've got this money thing figured out. They're not as stressed about it as I seem to be, you know. And I knew if it was possible for them, that it could be possible for me. So one day I sat down and I wrote down exactly how much I got paid, and I wrote down the bare minimum expenses that I had every single month. Daycare, gas for my car to get me to work, food, all those kinds of things. And I realized that every 2 weeks, so for every pay period, I should have about $5 to $7 left over. And let me tell you, with all my credit cards maxed out, making the minimum payments, $5 to $7 is not much at the end of the day. But what that $5 to $7 did was it gave me hope. And I realized that it was possible. I did have some wiggle room, that even though I felt like I was drowning at this point, there was some space where I could choose what happens to it. So I became determined to really find out what happened to that $5 to $7 every single pay period. And I am a researcher. I started researching and learning about all these different kinds of budgeting frameworks that are out there. There's the 50-30-20 budget, where only 50% of your budget of your income is supposed to go towards your necessities, which, as you can tell, that quickly didn't last long in the Bay Area. So I threw that one off to the side. I was busy. I'm a single working mom. So I tried all the apps that are out there, and I was frustrated because they didn't sync properly to my bank account. So I found myself overdrawn a couple times. So that was frustrating too. So I did a lot of trial and error over a few months and finally pieced together the things that worked for me because I needed it to be simple. I needed it to be easy. I needed it to be fast, and I needed it to be sustainable. And eventually I came up with this 4-step framework that I teach in my budgeting workshops. Um, and what it led to was over the course of 13 months, I paid off over $17,500 worth of debt while still living in the Bay Area while still getting my kids everything that they needed. We didn't take any crazy drastic measures like moving into an RV or, eating just beans every single day, right? We still lived our life. And this was an absolute turning point for me. Um, Never in my life had I felt so accomplished and proud and confident in what I was doing. And that really opened the door. I realized if, I can tell my money where I want it to go and it can work for me and do what I want it to do, you know, what else is possible in the world? And ever since then, I have just continued to grow that dream, right? And since then, I've moved to, our dream area where my kids and I live. They're doing absolutely phenomenal in school. I have like almost everything I could ever dream of and more. And all of this is made possible by first learning how to understand my finances and have my money work for me. And I believe from the bottom of my heart that this kind of transformation is possible for everyone. And just imagine how it would feel if you didn't feel controlled by your finances. If it wasn't kind of like a luck of the draw, is this transaction going to go through when you get to the store? Or if it's, you are purposefully and consciously choosing to spend your money here to enjoy going out to the movies there, right? Like you are having your money work for you and you are doing things that align with your values. Um, I believe that that transformation is possible. So there are two things that I do. I run my budgeting workshops where I teach the cash framework, CASH, and that is the 4 steps that you always need to do in order to budget, just 4 simple steps. Um, and then the combination that I use with that is my intuitive coaching, right? Because budgeting is not one size fits all. It should fit you and what you want, right? Just because I'm working towards one financial goal doesn't mean that you should. And whatever you choose to work on, I want to teach my clients that it is absolutely okay. Like, you know, whatever dreams you want for you and your family, like there's no one size fits all. And I teach people just how to gain that confidence and clarity and the results so that they can live a life of their wildest dreams too. So I hope this was a nice little introduction, and I will talk to you guys soon.